Hello and welcome back to the Moneymatics Podcast. My name is Omobobola, and on today's show, we are looking at Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps and putting a European spin on it, maybe even an African spin. Let's get right into it. So for those of you who don't know what Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps are, these are steps that you can take to get out of debt and then into financial independence or freedom, or at least be ready for your retirement in a way that you wouldn't have been able to do if you didn't follow the steps. So they're really very structured. There is baby step 1, baby step 2, and then on to baby step 7 that you're supposed to take. So we're going to be looking at what these baby steps are, and then from a European context or a European point of view, what should you think about as a European? Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps are very, very relevant to the American context, but a lot of people follow them. A lot of people have heard about them. A lot of people are wondering, can I follow these steps if I am living in Europe? And I want to really get into this for you. So, number 1 on Dave Ramsey's baby steps, 7 baby steps, is saving $1,000 as an emergency fund. And there's a lot of boo-ha-ha on the internet about $1,000 is too little. What does it mean? What does it not mean? But anyways, if we ignore all of that, the whole concept of saving $1,000 as an initial, let me repeat again, initial emergency fund was you have some money that can help you to land in case something happens on your way to, going through the other 6 steps. Because the next step on this is actually paying off your debt. So what he really wanted to do is you have some money saved before you start attacking your debt in case there was something that came up along the way. But again, let's look at it from a European point of view. In Europe, a lot of people have like a better safety net. This is not the US. I mean, if there is something, if you need money for your health or whatever, you will go to the hospital in Europe and you probably be treated. No, not probably. You will be treated before they ask you for how much you're owing or how much you need to pay. Most times, a lot of European countries have free health care. We have, to an extent, subsidized dental care. So, we don't have the same problems that Americans have when it comes to the need to have an emergency fund that if anything happens, you can fall back on. But I still like the concept in the sense that if you have that $1,000 saved, something breaks in your house, your car, whatever, you can easily fix that. So I would say, even for the European context, it is a good step to take in leading up to the full funded emergency fund. But you can think about, maybe, do I need to save £1,000 or 1,000 euros, or can I reduce that to 500 or whatever it is, and then adjust it to your own reality in the European country that you're living in. We're going to number 2. Just stay tuned. So, welcome back. Number 2 on the 7 baby steps is to pay off all your debts apart from your mortgage. Meaning, and his whole idea is mortgage can be considered a good debt because you have a property that probably is increasing in value. So it's not a bad debt, but every other debt is bad. You need to pay off your student loans. You need to pay off all of these things. And that works for the American market, because a lot of Americans lived on credit cards and Europeans didn't used to do that. But now we have that also here. People are getting into the credit card trap like we talked about the last time. And so, yes, you should definitely pay off all your debts if you can. But one debt that may not make sense to pay off in Europe is your student loan. I mean, our student loans in Europe, I would say for Sweden, for example, they're around 1% It's like free money from the government. Why would you even want to rush to pay that off? You don't need to think about it. So that's something that I probably would say, if I'm rewarding Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps, I would say pay off all your debts except your student loan and your mortgage, and then you're good to go, because you will be paying off your student loan along the line, but you don't need to rush to, get it all off because the interest rate is ridiculously low. So for the European, what you want to do is pay off all debts that are like consumer debts, high interest rates and all of that. Make sure you pay them off. But your student loan, you can take your time to pay that off. Now, let's go to number 3 on the 7 baby steps. Number 3 on the 7 baby steps is saving for a fully funded or a full funded emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. Now, this is something that is good for everybody to have. In fact, some people even have more than 3 months expenses or 6 months expenses in their account. They have a whole year's expenses covered if anything should happen, and that is good. That is good for good discipline. But in terms of the advantage of doing that before any of the other steps in these 7 baby steps, for you as a European, what you want to do as somebody living in Europe is you need to consider, am I living in a rented apartment? Am I living in a house or an apartment that I own by myself? What is normal for maybe Europeans is that you don't need that big safety net, because a lot of people have unemployment insurance. A lot of people have something they can get from the government if something should happen to their job and all of it. So it's not the same vulnerability like people have in the US. So what you want to do in Europe is maybe save 1 to 3 months emergency fund, and then at that point you can then go on to the next step if you're following these 7 baby steps, which means you can start investing earlier. You don't have to wait until you have 6 months emergency fund in your account to start investing. You can start investing earlier and really take advantage of time in long-term investment, take advantage of compound interest as soon as possible. So this is what I say to you who is a European or who lives in Europe. Yeah, 1 to 3 is probably something to look at, but definitely 3 to 6 does not hurt as well. Now, if you're an African, you've heard me say this many times. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your emergency fund in one place. You need to think, like I've said, always black tax proof your emergency fund. Don't let them be in one place and then easily accessible, where you can easily get a call and you can easily feel guilty and guilt trapped into spending money that you saved up for emergencies for somebody else's emergency. So you need to also black tax proof your emergency fund, but definitely something to do. You may just not need the same size like Dave Ramsey is suggesting, because you have a different safety net here in Europe. Number 4 on the 7 baby steps is investing 15% of your household income on what they call in the US Roth IRA or Roth, whatever that is, In Europe, however, many of us already pay a compulsory amount of our income every month into a compulsory pension scheme. So a lot of you know how much you earn before taxes. Your employer is mandated to take from your salary and pay it into a compulsory pension scheme. So because of that, we don't need to have a retirement focused investment strategy as much as in the US. So what you want to do is you want to think, do I want to put 15% on my retirement savings, or do I want to put money into other kinds of investments and savings? So you really want to think about that. You don't have to make your investment so pension and retirement focused. You can do more. You can do less than 15% outside of the one that is done by a company. Now, I know I'm saying that, I would say that all over again. What I'm saying is you automatically are already investing in this state or government pension scheme when you work here in Europe. If you work with a registered employer, right? So when you do your own personal savings and investment plan, you don't have to do 15% focused on retirement. You can do less and then focus on other kinds of investment when it comes to retirement. So that's something that you really think about as a European that wants to follow the 7 baby steps. Number 5 on Dave Ramsey's 7 baby step is saving for your children's college fund. Or let me make it European. Saving for your children's university education, like their higher education. The thing is, for a lot of Europeans, that is not a need. Many Europeans have free education in their countries for their children, even at higher education level. Now, we're not talking to the Brexiters. We're not talking to the people in the UK. They need to pay through their nose for their education. But again, all jokes apart, right? Even if you're in the UK, you can easily get a student loan at a very low interest rate. So that all saving for your child's college fund is not so relevant for the European experience. What I'm saying to you as a European is that particular point is not so relevant to you if your children are going to study in Europe. They can go to school for free, tuition free, and they can get student loans even for their normal living costs. They can even get student loans for education if they need to, and they're really very low interest rate student loans. So for you as a parent, you don't have the same level of burden to save up for your children's education. Now, the thing is, if you are living in Europe, but you're dreaming of your child going to Harvard, of your child going to Yale, to MIT, then yes, you should grab your pockets now and start saving up for that time when it comes, because they would need to pay. But apart from that, you don't need to think about that. So, number 6 on the list is paying your mortgage off very early. So Dave Ramsey will always talk about, don't get a 20-year mortgage, don't get a 30-year mortgage, get a 15-year mortgage. And even though I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey, I always laugh at this point because Please, in Europe, in Sweden at least that I live in, my own context, most mortgages are put at 40 years. By the time you've lived in a place for 20 years, the value that is still left in your property is way more than whatever it is that you're owing the bank. So most people tend to not want to be in a hurry to pay off their mortgage. But of course, a mortgage is still a loan. It's a debt. If interest rates should skyrocket like it did for the last 2 years, went from 1 point something to like 3, 4, then of course you will feel the weight of having that big debt on your neck. So this is what I say to the European. You really don't need to be in a hurry to pay off your mortgage very early unless it's just a personal desire of yours because, paying off your mortgage early gives you peace of mind, it gives you rest of mind, you're planning for retirement and all of that. But beyond those reasons, mathematically, you don't need to try to pay off your debt really fast because a lot of times the interest rates are really low and a lot of times the value of your property is increasing in a way that allows you to, you can have that debt, put the money that you would have been putting and sinking into your mortgage in another kind of investment that then brings you more interest. So this is something that you need to think about it. Is this important to me to pay off my mortgage early? If it is, then you should follow Dave Ramsey's advice, trying to cut down on the number of years that your mortgage is for. But if it is not so important to you, then definitely you should not be in a hurry to sink money into your mortgage. You should take that money and invest it in other things that can give you better returns. So the seventh thing on Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps is giving generously and building legacy, just being a cheerful giver. In fact, he always says that the money that God gives you or the money that you have, it's not only for you. The best time that you start enjoying money is when you start giving it, when you start using it to do good, to bless others, to be a blessing to people. And that is a very good principle, especially if you're a Christian. I am a Christian, so I believe that you should give generously when you have it. The thing is, in Europe, a lot of people already pay higher taxes, and so a lot of charitable things are done through the government or through other organizations that can get money from the government based on the fact that people pay taxes. So in some ways, you're already doing some good with your monies. You may want to just think about how much more you want to give, how much more you want to be generous. But as a European, if you're just thinking of yourself as a European, then you need to think, okay, I'm already paying taxes, higher taxes, and I know that my money is being used for a good cause. Nobody in the society is really being left behind for the most part, and so that may be good enough for you. But if you're a Christian, then the layer there is that you probably still want to give generously to your church, to people around you, to the needy, no matter what the government is or is not doing. So with that, I hope you've gotten something. I hope you've been able to Europeanize, or I hope I've really helped you to be able to Europeanize the 7 baby steps and to see how you as a European can go from being in debt to financial freedom and investment and all of that. I hope that is something that you really find useful. And if you do find this useful, I want you to do one thing for me. Please subscribe to this channel. Put on the notification button so that you can get notification when I post new episodes. Do that for me quickly, please. Yes, right now. Yeah. And with that, we've come to the end of today's episode. Until I see you next time, this is the Moneymatics Podcast.